the podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3.
It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Mike Gustafson. I'm Aaron Dickens. We're joining you today, as we do every Friday before home Tech football games, from the Overton Hotel and Conference Center, 2322 Mac Davis Lane, the official hotel of Texas Tech Athletics and the official Lubbock Hotel of the Texas Tech Alumni Association. With you today until 6 o'clock. Would love to get your thoughts and your comments throughout the program on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at doublet97.3.com. You can also access that through the Double T 97.3 mobile app presented by Happy State Bank. Lots to get to on the program today. Tech football will take on Baylor tomorrow evening. Big game. We've talked about it a little bit, Gus, all week. I think that, I've seen various metrics, graphics, pundits talk about how competitive this game seems to be. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe it's 51-2. I mean, who knows? But on paper, this looks like a very kind of evenly matched game.
Yeah, I agree. And it makes us, as Red Raider fans at least, it makes us glad that it's at home and favorable crowd situation with regard to a nighttime kickoff and just all of that little bitty extra stuff. I don't know how much it's worth, but in a really tight matchup like this, it feels like it could be valuable. Create some noise for the opposition at key times, and who knows what all.
No doubt. I mean, like, for example, ESPN's Football Power Index, FPI, gives Texas Tech a whopping 50.4 chance to win this game. It's pretty much an even split. Point spread still around 2, depending on where you look, according to our friends in the desert, of course, with an over-under a point total set at 61. So they don't really expect a super high-scoring game.
So that means they're picking, roughly 32-29 Tech, 31 and a half to 29 and a half Tech.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's everything it's been set up to be, and I think if you would have laid this out back in August, you and I don't know, one day on the show, we sort of ran through what we would guess to be not so much point spreads for every game, but would Tech be favored in this game and in this game and in this game? And we sort of ran through the schedule, and I don't recall us thinking that we would be favored over Baylor, because at that point in time, the predominant theme was obviously defending Big 12 champs and the team that was picked to win the league by the coaches, or by the sort of the preseason media panel back in early July on the eve of Big 12 Media Days. And so to sit here today as a 2-point favorite, I'll take it.
You know, it's interesting that you bring up that poll. And it's not unusual, cue the Tom Jones, for there to be mistakes in those preseason polls. Because, sure. Listen, number one, like 30 people vote on them. The depth of people that are actually contributing to this poll is fairly small. But listen, these are all kind of based on, hey, what did you do last year and who do you have coming back that I've heard of? Right. So all that being said, this poll might go down as one of the worst in terms of forecasting in the history of the Big 12.
Well,
think about it.
Yeah.
Baylor, number 1, right? They're not winning this league.
Nope.
All right? Oklahoma, number 2. They might not have a winning record. All right? Oklahoma State, number 3. That's about as close as they've gotten, right? That's a fairly good guess. The Pokes could win this league. They could finish 2nd or 3rd. That seems pretty spot on. Texas at number 4. Okay, I could see the Longhorns at number 4, sure. K-State at 5. It seems like they have vastly undervalued the Wildcats. And then Iowa State, 6th place, with a first-place vote. I'd love to know, I'd love to hear from the one voter who ranked the Cyclones first.
Yeah, that's somebody that was really buying into the idea of them returning to where they were a couple years ago, and at least to this point, it's spun the other direction.
And then TCU 7th.
I was going to say the two really notable, and maybe even three. Maybe we're part of the exceptions as well. TCU 7, Tech 9, and Kansas 10. I mean, the one that leaps off the page there is Kansas.
Sure.
But I'm with you. I think 7 and 9. I'm all for them being way wrong with that number 9 pick.
And
obviously,
what's even kind of more mind blowing if you look at just the raw point totals, because you assign this team will be 5th, this will be 7th, whatever, and then they tally up the number of total points, and then that's how they determine the order of this final poll in the preseason. TCU and West Virginia are basically identical in terms of points. I mean, TCU has 149 here. The Mountaineers have 147. So you change one vote here in this preseason poll, and the Mountaineers are 7th and the Horned Frogs are 8th. So, again, that just makes it even more just awful.
And if you're that,
someone should answer for this. Heads should roll.
Well, one of the things we noted at the time was the fact that as you and I went through, I know I did in my notebook buried in here somewhere, the over-under win-loss projections from our friends in the desert next to those rankings, and the conference champ had an over-under of 7.5. By that
alarm bells.
Yeah.
Siren.
Well, and it probably gives you how completely what a complete lack of clarity or definitive champ that there would be. I think Oklahoma was sitting there in the 2-hole with 9.5 as their over/under, and that was just that was what immediately jumps out, and then I guess you look at that and go, all right, who's going to be wrong, the voters or our friends in the desert?
This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. No, it was a team like Texas or Oklahoma who didn't want to vote for anybody but themselves and couldn't. No, this is I get what you're saying, and that's the way that those polls are typically conducted in like baseball and basketball, but
especially where it's a head coach, or it's like each coach gets to vote.
Yeah, that's a 10-vote poll.
Exactly.
The football poll in the Big 12 is media, and so there were 30 some odd voters, maybe about 40 or so, 30 to 40, and so an actual honest to goodness somebody who pretends to be a media member voted Iowa State number 1 in their poll. Although, heck, someone voted for Vanderbilt number 1 overall, too, so in the SEC.
Yeah, that was when we thought, okay, what's the tongue-in-cheek move there?
Who's the wise guy?
Yeah, if you're the outgoing at this point right now, if you're part of the Gary Patterson regime at TCU, are you going or if you're an institution that might say, hey, we ought to get Gary Patterson in here to be our head coach, are you looking at that and going, that was a 5-7 team last year. That pretty much I guess you can do that two ways. Gary Patterson recruited a really nice team that Sonny Dykes is winning with. You can look at it that way, or you can look at it and go, what was he doing that they went 5-7 last year? They had a bunch of good players. They got a quarterback, etc.
We are just getting underway here from the Overton Hotel and Conference Center. More Tech Talk next.
It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hey, it's the Juice on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Alongside Mike Gustafson, I'm Aaron Dickens. We're joining you today from the Overton Hotel and Conference Center. We're here every Friday before home Tech football games. There is a Tech football game tomorrow, and so we are here. This is the official hotel of Texas Tech Athletics and the official Lubbock Hotel of the Texas Tech Alumni Association. We've seen a couple of Tech officials here already today. There will be a Texas Tech Hall of Fame event in this building in about less than 2 hours. So a lot of activity here at the Overton. You're certainly welcome to stop by as well. Tomorrow they have Wreckham Alley at the Overton featuring live music, patio games, cash bar, all of your favorite game day food, and much, much more. The pregame party starts 3 hours before kickoff and will continue after the game. Hopefully a a long, loud, happy celebration well into the wee hours after a win. Let's get to some headlines brought to you by our friends at Specs Wine, Spirits, and Finer Foods. The Texas Tech soccer team will be the 3rd seed in the Big 12 soccer tournament after earning a scoreless draw against TCU in Fort Worth last night. Texas Tech and TCU tied for 2nd place in the Big 12 standings by virtue of conference goal differential. TCU will be the 2 seed, Texas Tech the 3 seed. The soccer tournament will begin on Sunday, and Tech will take on Oklahoma. Final match of the game around 8 o'clock. You can watch that match and other Big 12 soccer tournament matches on Big 12 Now on ESPN+. The Fall Classic begins tonight in Houston, where America's team, the Houston Astros, will take on the Philadelphia Phillies. First pitch, 7:03 p.m. from Minute Maid Park. You too can join the program. We'd love to hear from you today. Let us know what you think on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at doublet973.com.
Excuse me. One of the storylines in the among the many World Series storylines, but Aaron Nola versus Verlander, the pitching matchup tonight. Nola and Alex Bregman, not only college teammates, but college roommates at LSU.
How about that?
So that's probably the cleanup hitter for one team against the starting pitcher for another. So that's a fun little sidebar. Doesn't always happen that way.
You stay in touch with your college roommates?
Yeah, I do. Not on a daily basis, but Ryan Roper, Mike Humphreys, actually not roommates. But yeah, I like road roommates and stuff. But yeah, I do. Fortunate to have those guys. We were all in each other's weddings and have stayed in touch. And you know, fortunately, all 3 of us have sort of stayed around the game of baseball, and that'll bring us together occasionally.
This in the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Somebody says, yes, I had post-coital glow on my Tech Talk bingo
there you
card.
Go. Is that wouldn't be a weed strain.
This on the chat line, post-coital glow. I learned something every day on this show.
Glad.
A couple of folks weighing in that The Shining was one of the scariest movies that they have seen. This in the chat line from Curious George. I didn't catch who the player was, but the one interviewed last night, I believe it was Kosai Eldridge,
yep,
also mentioned candy corn, except even better, he liked the candy corn pumpkins. It was awesome seeing CL's face. Yeah, it was terrible. And you know what? I feel like for a few weeks at least, Kosai Eldridge was always going to have a special place in, I think, in my heart from a Tech football standpoint, but now that's all been erased.
And this is a super senior. So,
yeah.
I mean, this is kind of
irredeemable.
His parting shot, and yeah, it would have been funny because like Level didn't have anybody to look around the room that would go, oh, hey Level, candy corn. You know, he just had to sort of eat it up there.
I mean, not literally.
Literally.
Our friend Opa has this in the chat line. Hey, boys, enjoying the show from a rainy southern Denton County. Let's get a win this weekend. Hey, man.
Yep.
I'm all for it. Sign me up.
Gray
1 point. It doesn't matter.
Yep, gray and rainy here right now today, but it's supposed to be sunshine and in the 50s tomorrow. So, yeah, I saw that by the end of the game tomorrow, like temperature anticipated to be like high 40s, 48, 49. So definitely some hoodie and coat weather going on, and you're going.
I'll be there,
and you'll be manning it up in
maybe.
We'll
see. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, you may wear.
Yeah, I might. I mean,
you might wear foot.
I actually might wear closed-toed
yeah.
shoes. Yeah, tennis shoes.
I was wondering if there was a temperature threshold that you had to get to.
Well, because normally it's like I'm not outside
you're not
for a whole. You know what I'm saying? So my mantra typically is that I dress for the destination, not the journey. And so if I'm going to the grocery store, what do I care if it's
write that in my notes.
Cold outside? Because I'm going to be in the grocery store for most of those, that time. Time away from home, so
yeah, but I mean, by the
but
time
if I'm going to be outside for 3.5, 4 hours,
parking, walking, in the game, parking, walking, that's probably a good 4-hour chunk. Yeah.
This in the Yates Flooring.
Hang on, dress for destination, not
the journey.
Which
probably not smart if you're going on a long journey.
Yep, well,
but good. I don't do that.
I like it.
This in the chat line. It's weird that you guys won't allow anything to be posted about our student tailgates. Did you get a message from the tech administration or something? Hi, did we get a message from any administration about anything? No? Okay, yeah, so I don't know what you're talking about. I don't mess with the board. I just read it, so.
Yeah, I talk weekly about the concert and all of that stuff over there at Raider Alley, and so I can tell you that there's no concerted effort. In fact, maybe my focus is on a different.
No, I think this guy is mad because all of his comments aren't being posted for some reason on the wall. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I
got you. Okay, I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
I have no idea, fam. I'm just here to read texts and talk about how much candy corn sucks. This is the chat line. They're around Tech officials. It makes sense that they try to silence the chat line. There's literally a Tech official, a high-ranking Texas Tech athletics official, 6 feet in front of me. Could not care less. I could not care less about what you're saying.
I think that maybe looking for a controversy. I'm not saying there's no controversy. You may be looking for a conspiracy that's not there. I truly don't think that they're messing with message boards. But I don't.
So we have not been silenced. It's just, what else is there to say?
Yeah.
You know, like, I want a lot of students there. I don't really care if they are drinking under 21 years old. I'm guessing that a good chunk of the folks listening probably feel the same way, you know.
Yeah.
Doesn't make for great sports talk radio. Sorry that there's no real big conspiracy
here.
here.
I think we think we're taking your side on it.
Yeah, no.
Our advice
we have. Yeah.
Our advice is put it in cups and don't call attention to yourself. That was the advice I had for my children when they were that age. So.
This in the chat line, they can't be America's team if Americans no longer care about baseball since the Astros cheated and ruined it. No, they're America's team for sure. Somebody says this in the chat line, go Phillies. This in the chat line from El Jefe. I'm not sure if you heard this, but McGuire also likes beans in his chili. He said that last week. What are we doing?
Did he really say that, or is that just trolling you?
I trust El Jefe.
Okay. Right.
He's not led me astray. I feel like they need to get a rein-in on this search firm deal.
Who we hiring?
We got some red lines that cannot be crossed.
Scream these people. I don't feel I'm not anti-bean. If the bean's in there, I'm eating it. I may rate it a little lower than the beanless, but but I don't know that I would have said I'm sort of indifferent to that. I feel more strongly about the candy corn, anti-candy corn stance. Mm-hmm. I support you on that.
But Gus, if you eat it with peanuts, it tastes just like a payday. This from Eric.
Is that right? Is that a narrative?
Yeah. No,
is it really?
But it's just like we'll just go order a payday.
Just get a dang payday. Yeah.
Eric has this in the chat line. Did y'all hear anything about the baseball scrimmage yesterday? Yes. Anything the coaches liked?
I only saw final score, and it was 13-8, tons of offense. Of course, a lot of pitchers pitching those type things because I think the max out deal would be a 3-inning type appearance. So, a couple of monster home runs, and I think maybe the narrative of the fall, and this is my word, not Coach Shadlock, and he'll probably do a media availability over the next week or so, but is dominant position group maybe more so than pitchers because all the pitchers aren't throwing this fall.
More Tech Talk next. Hey, thanks for listening, John from Yorkshire, England. We're big across the pond.
Nice.
We're actually huge in Manchester. More Tech Talk next.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon. Happy Friday. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Mike Gustafson. I'm Aaron Dickens. We're joining you today, as we do every Friday before home Tech football games from the Overton Hotel and Conference Center, 2322 Mac Davis Lane, the official hotel of Texas Tech Athletics, and the official Lubbock Hotel of the Texas Tech Alumni Center. Of course, Gus, Red Raiders have a game just right across the street here tomorrow. But after that, they'll hit the road, right? They'll go take on the 7th-ranked TCU Horned Frogs. And They might be a bit higher than 7th. They might be a little bit lower than 7th, depending on what happens this weekend. But they're going to be ranked, right?
Yep.
I mean,
oh, yeah, sure.
It would take, 100-0 loss for them not to be ranked when you play them. And you realize that will be your 6th consecutive game against a ranked opponent on the road.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah. Interesting.
Dating back to last year.
I haven't thought about that. You're exactly right, because this year's non-conference game, obviously North Carolina State ranked.
Because you went to Lawrence last year, you won 41-14, right? Obviously the Jayhawks were not ranked.
Mm-hmm.
Then you play in Norman, 4th-ranked Sooners, you lose. You go to Baylor, ranked in the top 10, you lose. Barely, but you lose. And then we all know the schedule this year, Raleigh against NC State, Kansas State, and then the Pokes.
Yeah, and presumably that would end with the game in Ames.
Yeah, hard to imagine Iowa State. I mean, they've got 4 weeks to do it, but, hard to imagine them finding their way back in the AP Top 25.
That'd have to be a remarkable turnaround, and even then it would be iffy. But, yeah, that is interesting.
This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. I think most had this game as a pick'em before this season. Went down to the wire in 2021, and that was on the road. The overwhelming sentiment wasn't Baylor by much, if any. Most had it close. I think you are misremembering.
Okay.
I don't.
I mean, I
don't think so.
And I don't. What I guess where I was going with that is I think just as Aaron and I went through guessing at who would be favored, I think you and I had just in our sort of binary, you can be this or that you and I felt like we would not be favored in this game in August. That's where I was going with that, if I'm making myself clear. And that was just you and I guessing at it.
100%.
And when everybody was 0-0, just so we're clear.
Yeah, and I think that I don't know that anybody thought and looked at this schedule and thought really of any game that any of these games were just automatic losses, right, before the season. Because the texture is right. I mean, you were wire to wire, very close with the Baylor Bears last year. You should have beat Kansas State. You were in some of these games. You just fell short, and that was with, a flawed situation. Mm-hmm. It's just that there also weren't any automatic W's.
Right.
Save for maybe Kansas, and now even that is not as automatic as we thought it would be.
And the game here 2 years ago was a dogfight, highlighted by the memory we all have of that game. Obviously, it came down to literally a short field goal on the last play of the game that played itself out in a rather nervous way because a running back slid, I think, and the intent was let's run out the clock, but it was like it was done so at a point that Tech was that was one of those field goals that you're either going to win or lose. There was no we're tied now or whatever. If we miss this, we're going over. It's a very short field goal, but I think the play we all think about from that game is the Schooler hit on Brewer at the goal line.
Maybe. I think Brewer thinks about that too.
Yeah, or maybe he has no recollection. I don't know, but yeah, and maybe his career has spiraled since then, right? I mean, it hadn't exactly been glowing since then, but I would probably. It feels like to me, just if you polled the average Tech fan that's been around for, from at least your age and older, that saw both that hit and Slay's hit. Feels like to me the Slay hit would have a little bit maybe higher prominence. There may be certainly some recency effect to the Schooler one. The cool thing about the Schooler hit is that was a critical play to winning that game. So anyway, regardless.
Meanwhile, in that K-State game, you were up by like 1 million.
Right, that's where I'm going with that.
This in the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Was Mississippi State ranked? No, they were not. That was a neutral site game, so not on the road. It was away from home, but not a true road game. But the Bulldogs were not ranked. Love to get your thoughts and comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at doublet973.com or through the Double T 97.3 mobile app presented by Happy State Bank. This on the chat line from S. Mitchell. He says, CABC basically setting people up.
And hearing that, I wonder where the genesis of this was. TABC just saying,
like,
hey,
what agency was –
Yeah, let's go over there and deal with this in a way that Tech had nothing to do with it. That's the part that's fuzzy to me. And
I think that part – it's hard for me to really have much of an opinion in terms of, like, getting mad. Because I don't know who do you direct that anger toward, right? Because I don't know that, like, you know, that Kirby Hocutt or, you know, Ted Mitchell or President Skuvenick can, like, roll up there, like, you know, like Gandalf in the Fellowship of the Ring and go, "You shall not pass" to the TABC. You know what I'm saying?
Right, that's what I'm saying. I think their jurisdiction sort of.
Yeah, so I don't. I mean, do I think that like Lawrence Skuvenick and Ted Mitchell and Kirby Hocutt are in some kind of like command center room somewhere on campus,
part of
like plotting? Okay, you get the Kappas,
the campus cabal.
You know, you get the Kappas,
right?
And you get the Beta Phis or whatever, and we're just going to take them down. You know, I don't think that's what happened.
They'll learn not to mess with us.
Yeah,
I think I'm with you there. And
it's like that scene in Downfall, you know, with all the memes.
Yeah, I mean. Here's my advice. If there's a takeaway here, kids, put it in a cup, okay? And don't call attention to yourself. There's my advice. How's that? Take this. See? There you go. Right there. Right there. That drop, like most good drops, completely lacks context, and I love it.
This and the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Yes, underage drinking is technically illegal, but I thought it was technically illegal to consume alcohol on the Tech campus. So why didn't the police target all people for breaking the law? I don't know what the law is. This in the chat line. Schooler's hit was legal. Dwayne Slay's hit would be doing 2 to 10 in today's safer game.
Yeah, you're probably right. Because although he wasn't sliding, was he? I think he just.
Oh, I mean, he just got crushed.
I think he did too. I think Slade just rocked him. But yeah. Now, I mean, the thing I would, you know, a lot of the helmet to helmet things are when a guy sort of doesn't see it coming, and they're like squared up on each other. I mean, Slade's running right at him.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, because Everidge is kind of running, and he kind of. I don't think he saw him at all. Because he was kind of running one way, and there were some players kind of in his way, but he was not sliding.
And the dude, no, he absolutely wasn't, and that's where it's hard to know. I tell you, one of the birthdays today is Steve Atwater, who played at Arkansas back when they were in the conference. He got to the NFL, had a really good career with the Broncos, and the play that everyone thinks about with him is big Christian Okoye, who was a 260-pound just load. He comes through the hole, and they're squared up, and Atwater rocks him and just knocks him backward. You're going, that guy's 260 pounds. And it's just, you know, Atwater was explosive and a big hitter. Yeah, and he got a little bit of pad level on Okoye. But when I see that Slay hit, it's what that thing reminds me of, because he just stones Okoye in a play where the hole opens up. It's Okoye versus Atwater. Okoye goes backwards, and he is like, again, 260 pounds in 1990, whatever that would have been, about early 90s. That was a massive running back.
This in the Yates Flooring Center chat line. I just tuned in. Please do not talk about Tom Brady and his personal life. This is the third program that I listen to on a daily basis, and they have all been talking about it. This is not sports-related other than it's Tom Brady. Leave it alone. Most people don't care. I don't care.
Yeah, I think you're in good shape there.
You're the first person to mention it. We're not talking about it.
It's not on my list. I've got the big red binder to prove it.
More Tech Talk next. We'll power rank the most famous sports divorces coming up. I'm kidding. More Tech Talk next.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon. Happy Friday. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3. and Double T 97.3.com. Alongside Dr. Mike Gustafson, I'm Aaron Dickens. We're joining you this fine Friday afternoon from the Overton Hotel and Conference Center, where we are every Friday before home Tech football games. And there is a big one on Saturday across the street, and we are about, 26 hours away, give or take, from the festivities getting underway there at Jones Stadium. And then tomorrow, here at the Overton, beginning 3 hours before kickoff, they'll have Reckham Alley featuring live music, patio games, cash bar, all of your favorite game day foods, and much, much more. The chicken here, outstanding. Big fan.
24 hours from now, we'll be knee-deep in some funky Cold Medina.
That's right, we will be.
Tone Loc, dude, 4:30. That's why I'm so oblivious to the I'm not saying I lack compassion for the TABC and the texts we've received and all that stuff, but I'm just knee-deep in my own.
Well, and you're a little bit, you're fairly far
older.
removed from your MIP days.
Yeah. At our age now, it's just PI, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you're stumbling around at our age, it's like, good God, dude.
This in the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Why do the Tech players stay in a hotel the night before a home game?
Yeah, that is truly something that's been done for about 35 years. I know that it was being done in the late 80s. And Leach did it.
Sure.
For years they were in the hotel out there on the South Loop in Indiana, which is now a vacant lot.
You get to control schedule a bit.
Exactly.
You get to control access. You get to make sure no one does anything, silly or dumb.
Out being an idiot. Yep.
This in the Yates Flooring Center chat line from Shelley. Any legit reason to be concerned about Chapin in y'all's eyes? I'm just not seeing any reason to be scared, but open to your views because I always wear scarlet glasses, and 80 doesn't even like the Going Band.
Well,
that was a random shot.
Snuck it right in
also
there.
Not true. I don't dislike them. Actually, you know what? That's probably true. It's not that I like them. I don't dislike them or like them. I'm just kind of neutral.
It's sort of like brisket.
Yeah. It's just not my thing.
It's not your favorite thing.
Yeah.
I think the way, on Monday, it was either Coach McGuire or Coach DeRuiter in prepping us for the Baylor game talked about the what they do offensively. And he talked about them being a veteran offensive line. But the key thing that jumped off the page at me out of his comments was they do very little drop back passing. It's going to be play action and it's going to be bootleg action. They're going to base their passing game off of the running game. So,
it's not going to be air raid out
right.
there.
No. And they're going to try to get behind that veteran offensive line and run the ball to set up the pass. That's my very general scouting report.
Here's a stat line for you. Speaking of Blake Chapin, 218 attempts, 146 completions, 67% completion rate, about 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns passing, 7 interceptions. That's Donovan Smith.
Yeah.
Which is not that far away in really any category from Chapin. Chapin has thrown for about 100 more yards. He's completing passes at a slightly higher clip, 68 versus 67. Both have thrown 12 touchdown passes. And Chapin has thrown 2 fewer picks than Donovan Smith on the season.
That's interesting. And, of course, Donovan in less games. But that's I think the real story to this game is something you and I kicked around a couple days ago, and it's the idea that Tech would like to play this game running, obviously with tempo, offensive tempo, running a lot of plays, 90 to 100, whatever that number is. Whereas Baylor going to be getting into the huddle, ready break, coming out.
Methodical.
Playing a very methodical, heavy. You got 2 teams that will go for fourth downs. We know that. But if Baylor's able to really control clock, both of these teams in a different way are going to try to put the other team's defense on the field for a long time and keep the other offense out of rhythm. They're going to go about it in a very different kind of way. it's really a contrast in styles. If this was a basketball game, we'd be going, hey, this team right here, they're running gun, and this team right here is going to half-court game. You know, it's that sort of a narrative, and, you know, it sets up for some good drama.
Yeah, I mean, if this game is played at your pace, at Texas Tech's pace, then I think that you really like your chances there.
100 plays to 70 or 60.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because Baylor they have not been in a game like that, certainly this year, and very few of those games under David Aranda.
Right.
That's not what they more often than not, and certainly last year when they were very successful, they were able to dictate the tempo of those games more often than not.
Yep, that's exactly it. And you talked about in their losses that they face teams that have run a bunch of plays, so they haven't been able to manage all of that. I mean, I think I think that was really when you talked about that early this week. That really reveals the idea of this game involving
that's the chess
style.
match.
If it's evenly played, unless there's a bunch of special teams craziness or turnover margin being really disparate or whatever. But this feels like a two different styles of play here, and it's going to set up to be fun. But I think this is the game that the front six or front seven needs to play well, because if they're able to run it and control it, it's going to be a long, slow death.
Yeah, because, I mean, and the same is true on the opposite side too, right? Much like they have not necessarily faced an offense like yours in terms of tempo and things like that, this is kind of a new thing for you too as well. I mean, not a lot of teams in the conference play like they do on offense in terms of their goals. They want to slow it down. There are teams that can and change it up and stuff, but this is very much a contrast in styles.
Yep. Very much so.
Love to get your thoughts and comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at doublet973.com. All guests appear via the Benchmark hotline. Look at this on the chat line. I played at Tech in the 1970s. The team stayed in a local hotel on Friday nights before home games.
Well, there you go. It goes back even farther than I knew. I knew that my freshman year, right at the very end of Jerry Moore's time, some of the other guys that were freshman baseball players in the dorm talked about the team being in the dorm on the night before the game. And so my assumption was it started in the late 80s, but I appreciate the texter weighing in there, because, I mean, that's a practice that goes back a long time. I mean, and it's all about eliminating distractions and curfews and all those kind of things.
Hey, your word of the day for 4:45 on Friday, October 28th is Eagles. Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles. All one word. EAGLES. There you go. This thought on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Yeah, the hotel keeps everyone together and on the same page. Also makes road games more routine as well.
Yeah, and there probably makes, meals are easy.
There's a McDonald's over there.
Yeah, probably not that. I think that's exactly what they're probably trying to avoid. It's exactly that. But, because think about it. They're not getting up tomorrow at 9 and packing up their crap and going to the stadium. That's a long day. And so there's, get your sleep, got meetings, got breakfast, that kind of thing before they actually trek across town and then do the trek across town and then do the walk right there. I mean, that's 2-3 hours before game time. So
who do you think is the biggest snorer on the Tech football program?
It's somebody. It's a big dude.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't think so. You think the Baylor guy? It might be that big nose guard.
Oh gosh, yeah.
That big.
Get that man a nose strip.
CPAP.
More Tech Talk next.
It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and DoubleT973.com alongside Mike Gustafson. I'm Aaron Dickens. We're joining you from the Overton Hotel and Conference Center, the official hotel of Texas Tech Athletics, and the official Lubbock Hotel of the Texas Tech Alumni Association. And in fact, in about 1 hour, right here at the Overton. They will have the Texas Tech Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
Yeah, Athletic Hall of Fame, really good class. Bobby Magel in the house, and you got to see me just snap to attention.
Oh, yeah.
Came around the corner like, oh.
Oh, yeah, you put out your cigarette.
Right, exactly.
You hit your flask.
Yes,
you know?
the whole deal. Straightened up. AD got to see me at got to see me whipped into it.
Oh, yeah, you tucked in your shirt.
That's
It was quite the transformation. Love to get your thoughts and comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at doublet973.com, and really kind of derailed our planned segment. I mean, it was going to be Hookers and Below, and now it's going to be church community service.
Yeah, that's right.
This and the Yates Flooring Center chat line from our friend Opa. Any interest in watching College Game Day tomorrow from Jackson State? I believe that it will be really interesting. I've said this to Gus before. In the last couple of weeks, I've actually watched more Game Day this year than I have in really recent memory. And it's not that I've been sitting there, just glued to the TV set and only watching Game Day. More of it's on than anything else. But I have watched a good amount of Game Day. And heck, a note, speaking of, they announced today that Lee Corso will not be there this weekend. He's dealing with a health issue. So certainly hope for the best for Coach Corso there.
Yeah,
I think it will be interesting for sure. I'm very curious to see who they get for their guest picker.
Yeah, I thought about that again last night because you and I ran through a bunch of options the other day and didn't really arrive at don't feel like we're really settled on one. But, I'm fascinated by that. There's no doubt that'll be very interesting.
All right, let's do our show versus show before we forget.
Yep, before we forget.
This was sent in very late by Jeff McGuire.
All right.
No reaction. All right.
I don't know that our prep time would have changed.
No, it would not have. I'm just giving him a hard time.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State at Kansas State. The Wildcats, the home team, are favored by 1.5 points.
Man. Yeah, that was the line that you and I saw early this week that was sort of a head turner, head scratcher, if you will.
Matt Dowdy not even wearing a tie. I mean, what are we doing?
I mean, at a 1.5 point spread, you're really picking the winner, right? You think this is where OSU flattens out and gets beat?
I mean, heck, you could say the same thing about Kansas State. This line, granted, this email was sent yesterday, but that line has not moved. It's still K-State minus 1.5. Both teams probably a bit dinged up,
That's true. That's K-State, a little QB health. Are they intact? Have you heard?
I have not.
That might be the game changer if you told me that they're going to be playing that number 3 guy again.
I want to go Pokes here.
Okay, do it. Let's do it.
They just seem like that really annoying team that the numbers don't seem just super impressive, and yet they find a way to win. TCU, this game I think is very interesting. TCU at West Virginia. The home team Mountaineers are 7.5 point dogs.
Yeah, I feel like TCU covers that.
You think so?
Yeah, do you? I would love.
I kind of feel like this is the game. Like either
is this the field goal game right here?
Either TCU just blows them out of the water, right? Or it's one of those like, hey, narrow games that goes either way.
Well, it's hard to imagine.
Really kind of narrowed it down, didn't I?
I would say this about West Virginia. If they don't get a bounce-back performance from last week, I would really, really be worried about them, the wheels falling off.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And now if they bounce back and get right in West Virginia, TCU's grill, even in a loss, although they really can't afford many of those, like at what point is that team going to go, and maybe even not start not believing in the regime there, because they've obviously got some of that going on.
I mean, TCU has had a pretty hellacious run these last few weeks, and they don't get the benefit of like a mid-conference bye week, right?
Yeah.
Or open week.
Yeah, they're 10 weeks in a row, I think.
Oklahoma, Kansas, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, all ranked at the time, all in a row. You've got to think it's 11 a.m., right? Mountaineers are terrible. This seems like a potential kind of letdown opportunity for the Horned Frogs.
A little sidebar. Was told that Joel Klatt told the Ticket today, the DFW Sports Talk station, that if TCU beats West Virginia, that Tech and TCU would be the big noon game on Fox. So,
if TCU beats, if both teams win?
Well, all that was in the text I got was about the TCU side of that, and so it could have
about how relevant that game will be.
No, I know.
If both teams win.
That's exactly right. And again, there could have been a maybe on there from Joel Klatt that was lost in translation. So don't go run into the presses with that. But not out of the question that the Tech game would be announced on Sunday for 11 a.m. but on the big Fox, and that means really, really visible.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, visible, a lot of eyeballs. Yeah, no doubt.
The final game, the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Minnesota Vikings in the NFL. Vikings are a 3.5-point favorite at home.
Man, I feel like the Vikings cover it.
Yeah, I think the things have kind of.
Nah, I know, and I'm not rooting for that necessarily, but that's.
More Tech Talk next.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Dr. Mike Gustafson. I'm Aaron Dickens. We're joining you today from the Overton Hotel and Conference Center, the official hotel of Texas Tech Athletics, and the official hotel in Lubbock of the Texas Tech Alumni Association. We'll have Rec O'Malley at the Overton tomorrow, beginning 3 hours before kickoff, featuring live music, patio games, the Cash Bar, and all of your favorite game day foods and more. And then after the game, the fun continues. Hopefully a wild, delirious, happy celebration.
Yep. Well, I tell you, we're on the verge of a pretty good one here right now, because this place has been bustling with letter winners and red Texas Tech dignitaries headed down the hall to the Texas Tech Athletic Hall of Fame induction.
We always bring out a pretty big crowd for our remote broadcasts. This is the first kind of black tie deal in terms of the audience. But, we're a sophisticated program, so that's not terribly surprising.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes.
This and the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Zach Thomas from Chris Dasher is a suggestion for a guest picker.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. That'd be good. And one thing about it, there might be some availability there. I mean, in terms of because again, it's not, you can't just Zoom window them in or maybe some cool hologram thing or something. But yeah, for the most part, they're trying to get folks on stage, and that availability thing is a key part of it. But yeah, Zach would be fun, especially think about it. He was a finalist in the Hall of Fame. The Canton, the big football Hall of Fame, and so there's the thing that would I'm not saying that he doesn't need to be brought back, but there's the news. Yeah, there's the newsy hook that would make that really work.
We talked about that TCU West Virginia game, 7.5-point spread, by far the largest in the Big 12 this weekend. The other three games, of course, Texas is off this weekend, and so is Kansas. The other two games are 2 points or less in terms of point spread. I mean, we are expecting some pretty close, narrow, hard-fought contests this weekend in the Big 12. And, this game will not get a lot of attention because of the records of the teams involved. They're combined 7-7. Together they've won one conference game. But kind of a put up or shut up game in Ames between Oklahoma and the Cyclones, I mean, if Oklahoma wins this game, they're still on track to have an okay season, right? 9-3 is still possible. 8-4 is still well within reach. But if you lose this game and go to 1-4 in conference play and 4-4 overall, that stings. And Iowa State, meanwhile, can you start out 0-5 in Big 12 play?
Yeah, and stuff like that becomes and you don't know exactly where this is, especially with new coaches and just team leadership and all that stuff. But some of the things you're talking about there, we talked about it with the West Virginia loss earlier, those can be the moments in which dudes start to, go, this season.
Am I really all in?
Yeah, I mean, this season, maybe your backups and some of those guys start looking at the transfer portal. Start getting bad thoughts in the back of their head. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
I'm going to put beans in this chili.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. And so I think, will they stay invested and all that? They keep winning, and then they've got a real thing that they can cling to as part of a turnaround and something that they're part of, especially for the first-year coach. But, a couple of losses coming to Lubbock and getting beat, it'd be kind of fun to watch them struggle.
It would be very, very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, Iowa State, they have Oklahoma at home. They're an underdog, a slight underdog at home. But then they get the Mountaineers at home, So I think if you win this game this weekend, if you're the Cyclones, one win can quickly become two.
Yeah.
And then who knows what happens. But, yeah, this is kind of the get-off-the-mat game for one of them. And then it's dark times ahead for the one that loses.
Yeah, that's well said right there.
This in the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Is the ceremony at the Student Union Building major police presence on campus? No, the ceremony is at the Overton.
Yeah, I wonder what that would be on campus.
I don't know.
I wonder if they got. Like the governor was in town a couple of days ago, but it wouldn't be that. I don't know. That's a good question. But yeah, this is very much at the Overton.
Nothing on the Lubbock Police Department Twitter account. The latest tweet is about a sting operation involving women of the night. If you know more, let us know.
Yeah, maybe there's some regent level or state senator. Like some of those types would come into town for something. But it felt like just the narrative around campus was that this right here is the big deal tonight. But who knows?
Yeah. They were all tech PD around the sub. Huh? Yeah, okay. I have no idea. Poke your nose in there and let us know.
Yeah, maybe it's a sting on the underage drinkers.
Could be, yeah.
So you and I poke the bear.
What's in that water bottle, son? This in the Yates Flooring Center chat line. 80, any chance you're attending the game tomorrow that you're promoting today, or is it another couch and underwear day instead? That's from Champ. No, I'll be there tomorrow.
Yes, you will.
Yeah, I will.
This is he is making his triumphant return with wife and child.
First time I've been to a Tech game in the stands since 2006.
Yeah.
How about that?
Oh, yeah, when you had this date circled a couple weeks ago. We talked about this, maybe more than that, maybe a month or so ago. And this is this is a big moment right here.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
This in the Yates Flooring Center chat line. My wife is on campus. They probably thought that I was going to be there. Someone just brought you a beer, Gus.
I know.
That was really nice.
If he was any good, he'd leave it and then go get himself another one.
This in the chat line. Could Matt Campbell have just struck gold with a novel concept on defense and is no longer that guy after everyone figured it out? You know what? That's a very interesting question.
And I don't know that everyone figured it out in terms of operating against it, because they're still not giving up many points, but they don't score many points either. But the key thing is, after a few years of watching it on film, there may be some elements that get around the league like, hey, we could do that. We could run that,
Sure. Well, and I think, too, the Big 12 that was, throwing it all around the field 40 to 50 times every game. That existed when that defense was kind of first implemented by Iowa State it doesn't exist anymore, right? Every team can run it.
Yeah.
This isn't the Cliff Kingsbury Texas Tech.
No doubt.
This on the Yates Flooring Center Challenge, it was Pat Mahomes, bruh. I don't think that Pat is actually in town, bruh. So
no, I believe his arrival is tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think that
it's a day of arrival.
If Pat Mahomes was in town, I don't think that he'd be at the sub. It's like, I got to get some of that on-campus Chick-fil-A, dude. Yeah, I don't think that's.
No, yeah, I think Pat comes in tomorrow.
This in the Yates Flooring Center Challenge. Has Tech ever beat Oklahoma and Texas in the same year? If they have, it's been a while.
It sends me scurrying through my
your mental.
My mental. Yeah, I'd have to, because I'm inclined to say no to that.
No, like ever?
Maybe 98. I mean, like had to go back early Big 12, 1998, maybe.
So, I mean, I think the
talk to me about 98.
Yeah, I think the limiting factor here is going to be wins over Texas, because I think those have come a lot fewer.
And they were always staggered. Back in those days, you played one at home in one year and one at home in the other. And so even in the years where you took care of the home games, there was usually a loss on the road that coincided. Look at like 96, 98. Maybe.
Yeah, so you had back-to-back wins over Texas in 97 and 98. You lost both of those games to Oklahoma. You beat the Sooners in 96. You lost to Texas in 96. I don't think you ever have.
Yeah, I don't. That's good point.
You're writing
we talked about the things that we wanted for Coach McGuire, and we talked about home wins. Didn't put it in the context of that right there. That's interesting.
You're writing a 10-game losing streak to Oklahoma right now. Hopefully that changes in a couple of weeks.
You've been listening to the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3. Check out Double T973.com for more from Lubbock Sports Station.